Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Lotus Lounge. I think it's like June 22nd, 2023. Holy cow. Hey, we're actually recording this week. We're up in Sedona, Arizona. We came up for a little business and got a little rest and relaxation and recharging at the same time. Very important. Um, and we're going to follow up to last week's conversation on being the wise sunbather. Um, a few quick points that we went over last week. If you haven't caught up with that one yet, and don't to rehash what you did, is the sun is important. Sun exposure is actually important, contrary to what we've been you know learning and hearing for the last few decades. Um, the keys are to being a wise sunbather are real quick. You know, build up a little bit of duration, just a few minutes at a time. Build up with some constant exposure. You don't need much. Start slow. Get up to 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes, depending on your skin type. Everybody's different. So go with what's best for you. And, and just be smart. And with that, we're going to go over to our resident expert, the lovely Carrie. And what are we going to follow up on today after last week's discussion? And was there anything I missed on the quick overview?
Well, Chad, that was an amazing introduction. You did fabulous. Um, so last week, it dawned on me that there are certain questions that come up quite often with clients. And one of those questions is, what type of sunscreen should I use? What protection is the best protection? And I usually give an inside out approach to this. Uh, but I thought we'd start with actual sunscreen that we apply topically and just going over some of the do's and don'ts. I mean, it's really actually very simple. The do's are stick with a natural physical sunscreen. The don'ts are stay away from chemically based sunscreens. And how do you know the difference? Well, many of the sunscreens that you would get at the drugstore or big department stores or big box stores in general are typically going to be chemically based sunscreens. And where you would find natural sunscreens would be from a professional esthetician or perhaps a natural food store. And what you're looking for as far as active ingredients in a natural sunscreen is basically an ingredient called zinc oxide. And zinc oxide, you may remember years back when you would see what do you call a somebody who lifeguard, that's the word. You would see the lifeguards with the white nose, the white chalky. That was basically zinc oxide. But nowadays they've gotten a lot better with formulation. So a lot of sunscreens these days don't necessarily leave a chalky appearance on the skin. So that is the main ingredient. Some would argue, hey, Carrie, you forgot about titanium dioxide, which is also a physical sunscreen. But titanium dioxide these days, you're having more and more people becoming sensitive to titanium dioxide. So I say let's stick with zinc oxide as your main active ingredient. What they have found with chemically based sunscreens, some of the actives with chemically based sunscreens would be oxybenzene and those type of derivatives. But what they've found is that when you apply a chemically based sunscreen to your skin and the sun's rays hit your skin with these ingredients applied topically, it actually increases free radical damage more so than if you had just gone out in the sun without anything at all. And that study was conducted in 2005. So it is a very old study. I believe it was conducted at the University of Berkeley College in California, if I'm not mistaken. But it is a very old study. And as you know, decades later, we have not been notified or educated on this. It has not reached mainstream knowledge, and you're still finding a lot of these type of sunscreens for sale.
Well, I believe they do say that it takes, the folks in the medical world say it takes up 15, 17, 20 years for things to catch up, things that become known in their world to catch up to the public. So that's right in that time frame.
Another thing I want to mention about zinc oxide, one component that I love about it is that it's very healing. So if you have any type of skin irritation, breakout, and you apply a cream that contains a higher percentage of zinc oxide, it is going to induce a healing effect on the skin.
So many people have skin issues. It seems like more people have issues. You might as well, a little prudence. Just keep it simple and stick with the zinc oxide. Just seems to make sense.
It's a wonderful active. Absolutely. Next thing I would like to mention, I mentioned that inside out approach. And I'm just going to touch lightly on diet, not getting too deep into it. But with the diet and sun exposure, they have found that the more one eats of toxic fats, like those fake fats, polyunsaturated oils that have been heated to high temperatures. So think about sunflower oil, safflower oil, hydrogenated oils. These oils have been associated with sun damage. And so the type of foods that come to mind when I think about hydrogenated oils or polyunsaturated oils that have been heated to high temperatures is always your processed foods, like chips and crackers and cakes and cookies. And if you look at the ingredient listing, it'll say like partially hydrogenated sunflower oil or safflower oil. And although these oils in their natural form are good for us in moderation and in balance, when you heat them to high temperatures, it basically creates a trans fatty acid. And that fatty acid is toxic to our systems and very much pro-inflammatory. And on the flip side, when you include healthy fats that are derived from extra virgin olive oil and cold pressed oils, avocados, nuts, seeds, those type of fats have actually been associated with a great response from the sun. So fats are really crucial. And then also your antioxidants that you would, and your phytonutrients that you would get from fresh fruits and vegetables. So lycopene, there's been a lot of studies on lycopene as an antioxidant, and lycopene is the pigment that gives foods its red pink color. So think about like watermelon and tomatoes. So lycopene has been highly studied, but all the phytonutrient chemicals that give fruits and vegetables their pigment, like carotenoids that you would find in like carrots and squash and peppers, have been also deemed as photoprotective. And so when you start to include a lot of these foods into your diet, it starts to build up a resistance to sun rays. So those are the two things with diet. And then what I also like to mention, and before I move on, Chad, did you think of any questions about that?
No, I think you covered it pretty good. I mean, we're trying to keep it nice and brief and concise for people to remember a few things would be helpful. So I think you hit on it well.
All right. So the next thing I'll mention is what Chad and I have become very passionate about and what we offer as proactive aging through Lotus Evolutions, and that is NRF2 activation and collagen supplementation. And so NRF2 activation is basically a nutrigenomic transcription factor in our genes that turns on those antioxidant enzymes that are produced naturally in our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And as we get older, due to age or perhaps due to a lifestyle that has for many years been deficient in a lot of good nutrients, that expression in the gene starts to decline. And so when we stimulate NRF2 activation, we're stimulating our own body's antioxidant enzymes, which again shield us from oxidative stress and damage. And I just read a study that's a pretty old study, dating back to 2015 by Washington State. And
That's fairly recent. It's only several years.
okay, so relative. But it stated that the NRF2 activation is skin cells are highly susceptible to that activation. So when you can turn on that expression, skin cells respond favorably. So when you're on NRF2 activators, you're going to notice that your skin is going to start to improve. And that's why I call it proactive aging versus anti-aging. Anti-aging means we hate aging. We want to fight it. We don't want to go there. And that's not really productive. That's counterproductive because we're all going to age, but we want to age beautifully and gracefully, naturally, organically, and look the best we can. So I call that proactive aging. The next thing is collagen supplementation. And since so much of our skin is collagen, when we can increase collagen in our skin, we can increase its resistance as well. And our collagen, as you know, Chad, activates an enzyme called catalase, which is an antioxidant enzyme, one of the antioxidant enzymes known to reduce oxidative stress and damage. And so including that, along with NRF2 and also a healthy diet, you're setting yourself up for inner organic natural sun protection that comes from within. And if you're going to go out in the sun intermittently and you're going to be out in the sun for long durations, okay, maybe then you bring in the zinc oxide as additional protection. But at that point, you're more protected than the average person.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So that's a pretty good overview. I mean, and one thing about with the NRF2 pathways, if I recall correctly, with diet, you're working on a 1-to-1 free radical. The food will knock it off 1-to-1. Whereas with the activating in our cells, somebody put it pretty well, it's like our bodies do it better when we're younger, but then that faucet gets it's like a water faucet, the stream gets a little less, and this opens it back up to where it's helping us operate. I'm in my 50s now. It help us operate, our bodies operate naturally as they did when they were younger, and it's a 1,000,000 to 1 on the free radical. So it's a tremendous boost. So if you eat well, you activate these pathways. The collagen, I love the collagen. I just took some a little bit ago. I'd hold the bottle up, but I think it's in recycling now. But I mean, these are tremendous tools to help your skin, and I personally have noticed a huge benefit. So
Yeah, and I think when you put it that way, that our own antioxidant enzymes will neutralize free radicals 1,000,000 to 1, it just makes me go back to the thought that we are so powerful as beings on our own, mentally and physically.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful.
That's true. Well, I mean, that's a pretty good overview. I mean, people, I really encourage them to take a look at last week's video, and then this week's over the points. And I'm sure we'll talk about it again too because it's an important topic. But I think we've hit on everything this week, haven't we?
Yeah, it is definitely one of my favorite topics. So thank you for watching, everyone.
Yeah. Everybody, bye from Sedona. We'll be back home next week.